Hey vegan food explorers, so today I've got a video which is a little bit different to my normal videos. First of all, it's much longer and basically we take a deep dive into the latest news from Oatly selling 10% of their company to a big private equity firm called Blackstone. You've probably seen it on loads of different vegan influencers, Instagram and YouTube channels. So I really wanted to give my own point of view. I come from an advertising background, so I find Oatly absolutely fascinating, but I also find it very interesting in acquisitions and mergers. So hopefully I can give you quite an interesting perspective and outlook, whilst also having read quite a lot and also listened a lot about the situation. So I'm sure I've probably got some things wrong, I'm not informed on other things, but I do think I give quite a unique perspective that hopefully you'll find interesting. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree, if you disagree, if I've got something completely mentally wrong, or I'd love to hear your thoughts as another vegan. So please sit back, grab a bit of oat drink, maybe or maybe not Oatly, and enjoy the video. Please smash that like button and subscribe, as it really helps the channel. Okay, so let's just back up a little bit. So we all know Oatly as the massively successful vegan oat brand, be that oat milk, so everything from their amazing barista edition oat milk all the way to their I think it's semi-skimmed, skimmed, different oat milks, but they also even do oat creme fraiche and a range of other different products. And they've always been really famous for having loads of fun, being crazy. If you've ever read their the backs of their products, you know that they just are up for a laugh. Let's just have a look on their website. So like products, you have to excuse me for the clicking on my laptop, it's a bit clunky. But anyway, yeah, here, so you can see all their milks. They have the regular oat milks, they even have chocolate, then organic, and then the barista and skimmed, like I mentioned before. Then they have chilled, so it's just chilled. But in some places, they're even starting to bring in these chocolate milk, these lattes, oatgurt, which is like yogurt, obviously. Then loads of stuff for cooking. So creme fraiche, I've had that, and it's wicked. And they're even expanding out into different vanilla custards and things like that. But people just love this brand. I think it's because they're one of the first to really start pushing alternative plant-based milks as cool and wacky and fun, and they got loads of character. You read the backs of their bottles, and they're talking about, they have their carbon footprint of that drink on there. You can see in the bottom right here, and then they're talking about, hey, food industry, you should be telling us what carbon footprint you've got on all products. So people love them. And then they're obviously taking on fully the milk industry, and they had this massive campaign which I might have open here, which was all about ditch milk, and they went up against the dairy industry. Here it is, and the dairy industry sued them because they were just saying you can't call oat milk, and basically they're terrified. And oat milk and Oatly have been at the forefront of basically dismantling the milk industry, dairy milk, so that's why we love them. But I think it was in 2016, it was announced that China Resources, which is a state-owned investment company, bought a 30% stake in Oatly. So already people are talking about that and going, hang on, this is a bit weird and a bit corporate and a bit scary. People are scared of China. So my reaction to this first part is, well, yeah, Oatly want to get into the Chinese market. We all know the Chinese market is absolutely enormous, and we also know typically Asian cultures a lot of them are lactose intolerant, so they can't actually drink cow's milk. However, with Western cultures coming over, people are starting to drink cow's milk, and the repercussions for the world if all of Asia or even just all of China comes online drinking milk, cow's milk, is pretty bad. So to have oat milk there would be fantastic, and one of the only ways to actually get to buy to sell your product in China, in the Chinese market, is to link up with the Chinese government. Yes, China is a little bit scary for Western people, but there's nothing dodgy going on there. Yes, they had to sell a big chunk of the company, but also they get loads of money and access to this huge market. So personally, I think that is a good thing. Chinese links could be a bit weird, but I actually think a lot of people are just scared of China for no reason, and so I think that gets a bad rep. So then they go on all that, and then recently it's come into the news that a company called Blackstone. So Blackstone are this massive, absolutely massive private equity firm in, I believe, America, and they have actually gained momentum. Yeah, so they've invested $200 million into Oatly. And this gets a bit weird because, well, first of all, it means that Oatly is now valued at $2 billion, which is loads. But it starts to get a bit questionable now about the ethics and whether that's a good move for Oatly. So there's been massive amounts of backlash to Oatly, and you can see that on their Instagram, and if you just follow any social influencers, vegan influencers, you'll see. So we can see in comments here, just saw the news, disappointing, 164 likes. That was 3 days ago. But the whole point that it comes down to is why that people are worried about it, is because I found this article which I think really sums it up, and it's basically the ethics behind Blackstone. So Blackstone now own 10% of Oatly. So this is Nicklas' blog. I definitely recommend checking it out. I haven't read anything else, but I've read this, and I think it sums it up perfectly from everything I've read. So Blackstone now own 10% of Oatly, whose new flavours include greed and blood. Okay, blunt, I love it. What does not eating animal products taste like if you opt for Oatly? Greed and blood. Okay, we get it. Yeah, that's Tony Peterson's CEO of Oatly. So Blackstone, the biggest things that they have is that essentially they're pretty strongly linked with the deforestation of the Brazilian rainforest, and so it's mainly around soybeans. Not soybeans going to soy milk, which, as we know, actually forms a very small amount of the amount of soybeans produced in the world, but actually going to feed livestock, so chickens, cows, pigs, things like that. Something that vegans are definitely against, and is definitely a massive cause of destroying the world, basically, from not only the places where it's grown, where they strip back rainforest, but then also how they then transport it, so then ripping down more rainforest. I think it says here that they were tearing down jungle to make a highway to the airport, and then obviously all of the fossil fuels used to transport the soybean. And where's the soybean going? To animals, who then are slaughtered and they have to be raised somewhere, and it's just incredibly inefficient. So to get all of the calories from the soybeans, they then have to go through a live animal, even forgetting all the ethics of killing animals. It's just crazy. And so Blackstone are a massive investment firm in companies like this. So I think it's Hidrovias de Brazil, a company that is owned in large by Blackstone, a major US investment firm. And so, yeah, pretty crazy. Yes, the CEO of Blackstone is a close ally of Trump. I mean, whatever you think of Trump, he's pretty crazy, but I don't think that's fair to put that back on them. That's just politics. But I think anyone can agree that destroying the Amazon is terrible, and so having any link to that is just absolutely mental. And then especially for an ethical firm like Oatly, it's just ridiculous. Okay, anything else? So there's this huge bit about Blackstone evicting tenants who can't pay their exorbitant and inflated rents. Okay, and so basically in the wave of the financial crisis back in 2011, I think, was when they swung in. And so the UN's housing advisors accused private equity firms and one of the world's largest corporate residential landlords, Blackstone Group, our good friends, of exploiting tenants and wreaking havoc in communities and helping to fuel a global housing crisis, which, as you can tell, is pretty brutal. It's been claimed that they massively inflate rents and impose a range of heavy fees and charges upon really poor and just the kind of the poorest people in society are being basically taken advantage of by Blackstone, and they're making a hell of a lot of money from them. So this all comes back to, why the hell has Oatly accepted investment? And if we go onto Blackstone website, you can see, definitely read this through. It's quite interesting. I mean, it's written by a great copywriter, as it sounds incredibly positive, but actually if you read and understand a little bit more about the situation, you know how crazy it is. And so you can read here. I've got a comment from Oatly CEO Tony Peterson, because you'd think on the front of this, what the hell is he doing? And so this investment demonstrates, so this is from Tony, this investment demonstrates a major step in funding sustainable, society-altering companies. Peterson said, that's not what Peterson said, but he said, leaders in asset management like Blackstone play an essential role in order to create real sustainable change. It is my belief that capital has to turn green and do so for the right reasons. Since we relaunched our brand in 2013, our focus has been to positively impact society by enabling people to change their lives with better, more environmentally responsible food choices. Yeah, agreed. And in doing so, reshape the food system to better contribute to the future of the planet. We chose to partner with Blackstone Growth because of their tremendous resources and unique reach. Our new partner's commitment to supporting us and furthering out of our mission is a clear indication of where the world is heading, which is a new, more sustainable direction. I mean, yeah, you could believe that, but I think you'd have to be pretty rosy thinking and positive and not really looking at the facts. If you listen to a podcast which is called the Pushback Talks by these two people, Frederick Gerton and Liliana Farah, sorry if I've got the names wrong, but they do a massive expose, because I want to say, I mean, I'm essentially a capitalist myself, and I think it does work, but yeah, and I completely understand that a company like Oatly, if they want to grow, then yes, they need money. If you want to take on the dairy, you need big money, but which is absolutely understandable. But should it be getting from brands like Blackstone? If you're Oatly, that you put all of your 100%, you've put all of your in your advertising that you are a company that does no bad, is not a bad company, it's not an evil company. If you're linking with an investment firm who is, I think a lot of people would agree that they are evil, then what the hell are you doing? And that is just a massive, massive turn off for your consumers. So it's pretty scary. And I think if you're using it's the classic argument of we're going to make them good because they're investing in us, it's the first step to a better world. Actually, if you listen to this podcast, they just completely debunk that. The CEO of Oatly is definitely going to be making, you've got to remember, his net worth has gone up massively from partnership with Blackstone, whereas if he'd partnered with a more sustainable private equity firm, then it wouldn't have gone up so much. So massively conflict of interest here, and you've got to take everything he says with a pinch of salt. So, sorry for the rambling, but I really wanted to get my thoughts out there and also start a discussion with other vegans, and also other business vegans, people who understand how capitalism works, but also how advertising and brand building works. So if you've got any thoughts, definitely let me know down in the comments. But the question is, will I still buy Oatly? I actually don't think I would. I'm not so bothered about things like housing and the investments of Blackstone, but the rainforest, destroying the rainforest, that completely goes against everything. It's one of the major reasons people buy Oatly, is to save the environment. So if they're now being backed by a company who is actively destroying the environment, then it just doesn't add up at all. So, sorry Oatly, I'm out.